passionate through the lows. Find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, the memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Monday's Monday Assessment by The View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. We had a great Monday. As you've heard, slightly different intro song this evening, so thank you, Amu Acoustic, for that. And he's right, it's not easy being blue at the moment, is it? It's also not easy being yellow or green at the moment for us Gills fans. Let's get into it. We have two debutants today, the same as we did on Saturday. So I'm joined this evening by Mr. Eddie Alcorn. I'm also joined by Ian Butler, and I'm joined by Mr. Quiz Blagger extraordinaire himself, Mr. Mike Cameron.
Get over it.
How are we, boys? All right.
Oh yeah.
Not bad.
Good stuff. So we will get straight on, I guess, to the Views News. And the Views News this week has a little bit of a twist to it, with Morecambe's plight being the first subject.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's correct, because I've had a few Morecambe fans that are friends of mine asking me to mention it on the show, because the way that we've had it ourselves, haven't we, really, with poor ownership. Not to this extent. But Ian, I'll start with you, mate. Like, what are your thoughts on what's happening, especially when the news came out, I think 4 or 5 days ago now, when they said that, you know, they can't prove that they can sustain the club till the end of the season?
No, I mean, obviously that owner, again, seems a very sort of, sort of individual, I don't know what we can call it, a certain individual we all know well, very long along them lines, isn't he? Obviously made lots and lots of promises that they just can't keep, didn't they? Obviously, he said he's going to fund the club till the end of the season. He was obviously initially promised them money for the transfer window, which now he's sort of gone back on that promise, hasn't he? So there's obviously a lot of deep problems there at that club, and we've all been there, haven't we? And it's not a good thing. So I'm hoping they'll get themselves sorted.
Yeah. I don't think we, obviously, as I mentioned before, we haven't really had it to that extent, but we
no.
So Eddie, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, there's been news coming out of Morecambe for over a year, hasn't there, of difficulties and threatened point deductions and not paying wages of staff and behind off the pitch staff as well. And it does seem like they've got an owner that shouldn't really be passing the fit and proper test, really. There's one thing that slightly confuses me. They've just played Chelsea in the FA Cup in front of 39,000 people paying 30 quid each, and they should have got 40% of that plus some prize money. So that doesn't solve their problems, but it seems odd timing. But, my heart goes out to any club that's mismanaged into the ground, obviously. And we've been there, and so without mentioning names.
It does. And Mike, I think I'd like to touch on what Eddie just said there. Like, obviously they've just recently played Chelsea, 39, 40,000 crowd. It kind of does seem a little bit strange when they would have had that money coming in to then call that now. So what are your thoughts on the whole debacle, really?
Yeah, I mean, as like Eddie touched on, that the fit and proper test. When you look at Well, yeah, is it fit for purpose? That's the first,
Yeah.
that's the primary question, because we've seen so many clubs being mismanaged by these fly-by-nights that come in, make a great deal of promises and deliver very little. I mean, when you take the owner of Morecambe, for example, when you look at like the companies that he's involved with, I mean, to quote a TV show that Eddie mentioned earlier, Life on Mars, he's got his fingers in more pies than a leper on a cookery course. So, but there's a lot of like dissolved companies. There's companies in receivership, and you just think like how is this person let anywhere near a football club?
Yeah.
It beggars belief. I mean that's even aside from the whole money that they would have got from the Chelsea game, etc. Where that's gone, is anybody's guess. I'm no expert on sort of, those kind of financial matters, but it should have at least put them in some kind of position where they could make at least some kind of movement in the market rather than a firm freeze on it.
Yeah. It's a weird one, and I do feel sorry for them because they're really good fans as well. Every interaction I've had with them, been to Morecambe a few times, and the fans are absolutely brilliant. So I really do feel for them, and Jason out. So we will quickly move on to the length of Andrew's injury. It was confirmed this week, so it was 8 to 10 weeks apparently. So Eddie, I'll start with you, mate, and we signed him injured, and all he's ever done is be injured, apart from 157 minutes.
Well, I mean, I'm always worried when you sign an injured player. It's very rarely worked out in the last, 47 years that I've been going. And I understand if it's a gamble that you do it to the end of like last season, and then you go, oh, well, shake hands, it didn't work out. But to sign him for longer than that seemed a bit bonkers at the time. Now, like in a couple of games, he looked all right. But apart from that, it's just not happened for him. Partly, no one's had much confidence in the front third of the team over the last year, have they? But I just feel like it's just not worked out, and I would be very surprised if he's at the club longer than May, put it that way. I feel a bit sorry for him. Players don't want to be injured. They must be so frustrated. It must be quite boring and frustrating having to deal with the rehab and then going twang again, So I feel a bit sorry for him, but it's just not worked out. And, football's a bit brutal like that. And I'm sure we'll be looking for someone else.
Yeah, Mike, what are your thoughts on Josh Andrews? And I've got to be honest, mate, I feel really sorry for him because I feel that he could be, that big man that we needed up front. The goal that he scored against Stevenage, I was like, no one else is doing that. So what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when he was brought in, it was to fill a position that we didn't have much weight of up front apart from Hawkins, but we were looking to move Hawkins on. As Eddie said, bringing on a player who's injured is always going to be a bit of a risk. We all remember what happened with Holmes and the such like, where these players are coming in and then we're always being told 2 weeks away, then 3 weeks away. And, it's as tedious for the player as it is for the fans kind of thing. I've got nothing against Andrews. Yes, I mean, I do have my criticisms where, when it comes to actually heading the ball, sometimes he's a little bit terrified. And last time I was on the show, I said that, having someone who's 6'5", massive and scared of heading the ball is an absolute walking contradiction. We need a bit more, up there to have that bit of height, to win those balls, to create second ball opportunities, for the quicker players like Nevitt and of course Morgan now. But yeah, I feel for Andrews because it must be absolutely devastating for him because whenever he's been on the pitch, he's been up for it. He's not really wanted to sort of just walk around with his hands on his hips, waiting for the ball to come. He wants the ball to come to him. But as Eddie says, it's just one of those things in football. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and I think this is just one of those cases.
Yeah, Ian. So it's not one of them cases, but then does it? I don't want to touch on recruitment this early on in the show. Right,
But, you know,
He's doing it. We're going in.
I mean, these sort of players, when we're bringing them in, the likes of your Josh Andrews. I mean, when we signed him, he was injured. When he was at Accrington on loan, he'd been injured. But I think he had another loan deal somewhere else before that. He got injured. There's a pattern emerging, isn't there? I mean, how many games he played? 5, 6 games, I think, maximum. He's played for us.
The odd minutes or something in total.
Yeah, I think altogether it's about 5 games. I think 2 goals. It's a shame. Like I said, yeah, we can go back to that. No one wants to see a player like that constantly injured, but we've just not done our homework, have we? They must have known the background of his injury record, his medical records. They would have seen all that, and I feel sorry for the guy because, like I said, there's been the odd moment, like I said, the Stevenage game and a couple of games when he has come on. He has looked really, really useful, but then there's been that other side of it. I mean, the Bromley game, he was absolutely terrible. And that there again, the whole team was against Bromley. But it's a shame. I do feel for him. Because like I said, no player wants to be injured constantly. But I like you said, I think there's got to come a time this summer if we are going to really push on, we've got to really draw a line under those sort of signings and be a lot more, I think, professional in our approach to players we're bringing in. It's just not good enough.
It isn't, mate. It isn't, and we will move on. I think we'll move on to recruitment after after we've spoken about the game. But talking about recruitment, and I think it was a good signing. I've watched him a few times. As I said to you guys before we come on, I watched Chelsea quite a lot. I watched the Chelsea youth Chelsea PL2 quite a lot. Jimmy J Morgan signing on Friday, I thought was a good one, Mike. So. What were your thoughts? Have you seen him before?
No, I hadn't seen him before, and as soon as that signing was made, straight away on X, there's that video of him, and some of the things that he's done. The thing is, I try not to get carried away with things like that. I try to wait and see what he does in the Jill shirt.
Don't know why that started playing. Sorry.
What's this?
Sorry. Anyway, we will move back on. Sorry, Mike. I won't interrupt you again.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. You're boring. Next. I prefer to see what players do in a Gillingham shirt. It was an encouraging debut. There were a couple of decisions that he made that maybe he could have made better decisions, particularly with the head back towards that should have been back towards Nevitt rather than trying to get it towards goal. But as we've mentioned before, that his introduction to League Two was always going to be a physical one. He put himself about. He had a niggle at I think it was Davies from Tranmere, and as a result, he got a bit of a clobber in for his troubles, just to let him know that he's there. That lad has a face for radio. Oh my word! I think he's
talking about Ian.
He loves me. He's obsessed with me. He's obsessed with me.
What's wrong with bald people with glasses? What's going on? So, yeah, for me, it's encouraging. I'm keen to see what he does next. I'm hoping that he stays injury free because that's the problem that we've had. Keeping people fit. Akmanoni has had a bit of a clobbering in his first game.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the local signings that we can get a decent amount of games out of, and don't end up on the injury list on a more permanent basis.
Yeah, no, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll go with you, Eddie. I think it was a good signing. I don't know if you've seen much of him. Before we go to the man with the face for radio.
I mean, obviously, I was at Tranmere, and he played. He took up good positions and made good runs, and you immediately thought, yeah, he knows what he's doing. And then he's only 18, 19, and he wasn't shy in putting himself about either, which is also a good sign. And I was quite impressed, I'll be honest. I mean, he then got, trodden on basically by one of their players, and that was that. But and the ref didn't really notice that at the time. But anyway, I thought it was a bit of a naughty challenge, even if he'd started it.
But he did it first.
Yeah, but he's a Gills player. He's allowed to do that. No, on a serious note, he did make some good runs, and you could tell his football intelligence. Yeah. And also he was, he was making clever runs and reading the play, and he's only been at the club 2 days. So obviously don't want to build him up too much, put too much pressure on him. But please, lad, score a goal for us soon.
Hope tomorrow night. I think that's.
But you kind of expect it, Ian. Like, he was signed from Southampton. He moved to Chelsea for £6 million. So a £6 million player for us would be like about 5 or 6 seasons worth of signings.
Oh, it's great. I mean, to be probably really impressive. I thought his movement on Saturday, his touch and awareness was really, really good. Like you said, he got involved. He made some really, really good runs, good decisions. Like I said, when he signed on Friday, I mean, everyone's getting really excited, but stepping up from sort of under 21 level, even at Premier League 2, that was my worry. He's going to come straight in and get clattered like Albinoni or whatever we call him did last Saturday at Doncaster. And I was really, obviously, when he got to see, the incident with the foot, I mean, hopefully it's not too bad and he'll be okay for tomorrow night. But I was really impressed with him. I thought he stood his ground well, made some really, really good runs. And hopefully the loan signing is going to work out, do him good, benefit him, benefit Chelsea. And, hopefully he'll get a few goals for us, I'm hoping. But let's wait and see. But, I was really impressed, really impressed.
Yeah, same. I think it was really good. And he posted something on X earlier, and I just said, gave a good account of yourself. Obviously, it's early days when you're playing with a team that don't necessarily care, and you're coming into that team. He made a real good account. So anyway, the bit that we did cut Mike out for, we will play now because Amu has also come up with this lovely rendition for Jimmy J. So.
Jimmy J, celebrate. Jimmy J, celebrate. Now we've got young Jimmy J. Take some time to celebrate. Just some goals would be nice. It would be so nice. Everybody spread the word. There's gonna be some squad resignations, yeah. All fans of the Geos, we're losing our patience. It's time for the good times. Forget about the bad times, oh yeah. One day to come together to release the pressure. We need you, Jimmy J, cause his name is Jimmy J.
Anyway, I'll apologise to Amu for cutting that short, but we only have an hour.
Just to put it out there, we're talking about no pressure on the lad. And he's got a song about him, saying, "Score some goals, Jimmy J. Just come and save
please, please."
No pressure, and then we go and do something like that.
With the first name Jimmy J, I was half expecting you to play something with a banjo from the Appalachians. But anyway.
So we will just quickly touch on Tranmere because we always like to do a little bit of their history from any club that we're playing. So the club was founded in 1884. As Belmont Football Club. They adopted their current name in 1885. Tranmere were a founding member of the Football League 3rd Division North in 1921, and Mark and Nicola Palios are the current owners, and probably not very popular owners. So, boys, we will just quickly touch on the lineup, and we started with Glenn Morris in goal. We then had a back three of Shad, Max, and Robbie. Then Jack Nolan, Amani Little, Nelson Kambeni, and Romeo Hutton. Bradley Dack in the 10. And a front two of Jimmy J and Elliot Nevitt. We then had a bench of Ollie Hawkins, Johnny Williams, Jake Turner, Joe Bode, Jaden Clark, Max Clark, and Ethan Coleman. And we kind of lined up again in a 5 at the back, a 2, a 1, and then a 2, which we didn't do that last week. But we kind of did, really, because I think Jaden Clark kind of filled in the JJ Morgan position. So I will start with you, Eddie. What were your thoughts on the lineup? And I will, before we go any further, apologise for the Bolton shirt. I do have it under good advisory that after Grimsby, they are planning to get the team shirts in, because I said causing havoc with my lineups on a Monday.
Well, I mean, for me, the main thing is I'm a huge fan of having 2 up front, especially when I view it. We've been ending up with one player ploughing a lonely furrow, and even if they win the ball, there's no one up with them to give it to. Or if you play a target man and they win the header and it doesn't go to anybody. If you've got an exceptional player to lead the line who's good on their own, like Nicky Forster was back in the day, or Akinbaye was back in the day, fair dues, you can do that. But, you know, my favourite Gillingham teams over the last 40 years have often had a pairing up front, whether it's Price and Westwood, or, you know, Bob Taylor and Carlos Saba, or, you know, Akinfenwa and Cody McDonald. And so I just think there's more intent there when you play 2 up. Even, you know, if it's early in trying to develop a relationship between players, or whatever, it just shows more intent. Because quite often, last couple of games, I know it's early, but under Coleman, we have had the ball quicker into dangerous areas with a bit more direct, less passing about at the back for no apparent reason, right? And so I think we've got into a couple of good positions where players haven't been up there in time. And so I think if you've got 2 up front anyway, that helps with that as well. Also, it's a bit hard to tell whether it's 3 at the back or 5 at the back. It depends on who's doing overlapping and who's doing lots of defending a little bit. But I think the other thing was Dak had arguably his best game since his return to the club.
Yeah.
And he didn't stay in that one position. He buzzed around. He floated around quite a lot and took up different positions. And that was really encouraging. That really was, I think, his best game since he came back. So that shows a bit more intent as well. But on the other hand, the first half an hour, we were a bit loose at the back, and we could easily been 2 or 3 down rather than 1-0 down.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get onto the game in a minute, but you know, for now, Ian, like the lineup, is there anything you looked at? For me, I don't like Jack Nolan at left wing back.
No, this is what I was about to say. I mean, at the moment, he's obviously.
I think Romeo
obviously
absolutely terrible. But,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, Hutton played again on Saturday. I mean, but this whole thing of playing Nolan in that left wing back role, it didn't work last week against Doncaster. He's gone with it again. He's obviously got no faith in Max Clark. That's brutally obvious.
Neither do I.
Obviously came on Saturday, but Nolan's just been terribly out of form, hasn't he? He's not been the player he was at Accrington. I mean, at the moment, I'm still trying to work out, like I said, are we playing 5 at the back? Are we playing 3 at the back? It's trying to work this out at the moment. I mean, last weekend against Doncaster, up until the silly moment of Amani Little's suicidal back pass, I thought we were a better team. We had more intensity about us. We were pressing harder, and we actually looked like we actually wanted it. And again, Saturday, at this level, you've got to play 2 up top. For a club like ourselves, we're not scoring goals, so we've got to start now playing 2 up top and start taking the fight a bit more to other teams. I thought, the first 20 minutes apart, we got ourselves back into it. I mean, we could have been 2 or 3 down by half time, and if we had been, we wouldn't have been able to complain on Saturday because we were very, very, very poor. They cut through us far too easily again. Lack of challenges in the centre of the park, and a lot of players again just almost mooching about, looking at each other, looking for the other person to do their job. And that's the one thing that's worrying me at the moment, is that whole. And at the moment, I think this lineup might take another couple of games to sort of settle in, bed in, and hopefully by next Tuesday, will we have another additional 2? Who knows?
Sorry, Mike, we've kind of left you out of the lineup there because everyone's started rambling on about the game itself. So, yeah. So, anyway, what were Mike's thoughts on the lineup?
If we go back one slide, and
You want to go back?
if you can, yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to make him sweat for it now.
Yeah.
I mean, as everybody said, I think two up front. I've said time and time again, Nevitt on his own doesn't work.
No.
We've tried it so many times. And initially I said, get the unicorn that is Josh Andrews on the field. If you're privileged to see him on the field, then you've done better than most. But isn't it lovely to see two players up front for a game? Despite how we played and everything like that, I think Morgan being up front with Nevitt actually forced Nevitt to try and be a little bit better, to be a little bit more creative with his own runs, and he got a couple more opportunities than what he would have got if he was on his own. Jack Nolan, left wing back, no, I don't get it. Yes, he's out of form, but putting him in a defensive role as well as a wing back role, it just doesn't work. He's not that kind of player. He's more attack minded. And that's what we brought him in to do. We brought him in to be an attacking player. We didn't bring him in to be a left wing back. It just doesn't work. Romeo Hutton stealing a living. And that's my damning verdict. That he was. I don't know. It's just a bit too casual sometimes, like during the game. If I'm going to put it nicely, but I just don't think. I don't think.
Okay, I've got a serious question to everyone else about Hutton. Right, he came to the Gills, top of the assists in our division as a fullback, and when he first came to the club, he was whipping in loads of really good crosses.
Yes.
We had no one on the end of them because we just didn't have the quality to get on the end of it.
Yeah.
But you could see what he was trying to do, and there were some cracking balls in peach across. He's totally regressed in the last 6 months in terms of his delivery and everything else. What's people's theory on that? Because we're a bit mystified. Him and Masterson have both gone backwards in the last 6 months. When a year ago they said they're two of our better defensive players, and one of them's very creative. What's happened there?
Well,
we can't work it out.
I'll take up that question happily.
Yeah.
If we can regress further to when we first signed him, and I'm bringing gay things to the club, and I'm going to do this and that with his video, surely that tells you the kind of character that he is before he's even kicked a ball. And the kind of character that he is, he loves himself too much, and he's trying to play football at a League 2 level when he's not even National League South, to be quite honest. So I just wanted to put that out there before we hand over to Mike.
Okay, well, to answer your question, Eddie, I think the problem with Hutton is not so much like his crossing of the ball. We know he can do that. It's his defensive responsibilities. You are a right wing back. You still have defensive responsibilities, and that is where he's letting himself down. He's finding himself out of position. He's being caught short. He's being caught with his pants down and then left running in treacle trying to get back. It puts pressure on the rest of the back line. So in terms of what's made him regress is the fact that because we're not actually getting forward as much, and we're finding ourselves on the receiving end of pressure. The thing is, he's a player that only excels when the pressure is the other way, when we're the ones applying the pressure. That's my honest opinion, because I think his defensive responsibilities have just gone right out of the window, and he leaves us short.
Yeah, I think I think his confidence, his shots to pieces as well. I mean, the performance against Doncaster last weekend was probably one of the worst I've seen in a long, long time from Gillingham. I mean, he couldn't trap a bag of cement last weekend. I mean, as far as the ball came, he's completely. And I don't know whether it's a mental issue or what. But it's sad because when he first came in the first couple of games, he did look really, really good, getting some cracking balls in the box, getting into good areas. But like I said, he's gone massively backwards. And like I said, is it a change of manager? What did Bonner do? I think there's a whole array of questions you could ask about this.
His confidence is a big thing for several of these players. I know everyone's saying they're not trying and whatever else, and they might not have the best personality in the world, right? But I think for some of the players, not all, it's not an excuse, but I think some of them, their confidence is shot to bits and they're terrified of failing. So if they don't try the adventurous thing, they don't try the imaginative thing, they play the safe ball, which is why we often take another touch outside the box and then lay it back rather than risk something that could score a goal but could easily be cleared. I think I know lots of people just think they're all not trying, but I think some of them are trying. It's just their confidence is in bits. Others, are they leaving everything on the pitch? Probably not, which is unforgivable in League Two. I'm not giving them an out. I'm just saying some of them, it feels like the confidence is on the floor.
Totally, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So we will quickly move on to the stats. We don't have to talk about that side of it, but we started the game not great. We made Tranmere look like prime Barcelona in my eyes.
Let's not get too carried away.
They then score a goal. They then score the goal, and Hutton touching on him again looks like he was running in treacle. Their player looked like he was running in treacle as well. To be fair, the ball comes in. And
it's a poor goal.
So, Ian, where do you apportion the blame there? Because I think
the move.
And I also put the blame on Max Amer, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but if you look where the actual goal started from, they came through the midfield, almost like they came through that centre of that park. Not one person shut them down in the centre of that park. I watched 2 or 3 Gillingham players, all virtually ball watching. When that ball comes through the centre, it goes out to the left, and again, like you said, they've overloaded on that left-hand side, and they cut through us too easily. Yes, a lot of people are pointing their finger at Hutton, but to me, the move started way back in the centre of that park again. When they've literally come through, the guy's picked the ball up. He's come through 5-10 yards. No one's gone with him, and they made it too easy. We're making it too easy for teams to play against us at the moment. Too easy. Yeah, I mean, we can all point the finger at Hutton, and he's massively out of form. And what's the answer? I don't know. Do we drop him? Do we, the lad Webster, do we bring him in? I don't know. What is the answer? It's a massive confidence issue at the moment, and luckily we managed to. Well, we didn't score; they did, but we managed to get back on level terms. But it's worrying me because we've got Notts County coming up this weekend. If we play like that again, they're going to cut us to ribbons.
Yeah, and it was kind of worrying as well when we did then go up the other end. I think there was a moment in the first half where it kind of epitomised everything that we could talk about, as Eddie said, about confidence, or is it mentality, or is it ability, where Nevitt had it in the 18-yard box. All he had to do was take that first touch and cross it in. And he took about 5 touches before he crossed it, by which time everyone had come back. Everyone was in position. And, it was one of them where, we get onto mentality, confidence, or ability in a little bit more detail in a while. But, Mike, what were your thoughts on the game?
The thing is, I didn't think it was as bad as quite a lot of people were making out. Yes, the first half hour was like, watch from behind your sofa kind of stuff. The goal itself, what Ian says, that it starts from the centre of midfield. I think even like prior to that, Robbie McKenzie tries playing a ball forwards that just gets cut out, and we've given it away cheaply, and let them sort of come at us. I think Kumbeni was backing off a little bit, which allowed a bit of space for them to provide that kind of move. And then it's a series of kind of like not tracking it. I don't know whether it was meant to be Ogie or Nolan who was supposed to track that, because it's out of shot, because I didn't go up for it, but when I was watching it back, and I tried watching that goal several times, I'm thinking, who is meant to be tracking that? I think Ogie has split off from another player to try and track him, but he's not getting there in time with the greatest will in the world kind of thing. So, there's a series of sort of like, again, Jack Nolan not being a left wing back, he was, defensive responsibility had gone right out of the window for that as well. It was just a series of errors, and they capitalized and fair play to them for doing so. That they could, that a team that they're low on confidence themselves, and they can produce a move like that.
Yeah,
That tells you something.
This is what
they've got it in the locker.
We're,
They've got it in the locker.
we're lacking the leadership at the back, because I noticed as soon as they scored, every single Gillingham person at the back, there's all standing looking at each other, all sorts of finger pointing again.
Yeah,
whose job? So yeah, and I was watching that. As soon as they scored, everyone's almost like looking at each other, looking for someone to take responsibility. And I thought, it's not. This is what we're lacking: leadership, massive amounts of leadership.
Yeah, at the back, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I said on the last show that I came on that Aimer isn't my choice of captain.
No.
Absolutely not. For probably about 95% of fans, I think Armani Little would be the choice of captain for. So and I think the way that Armani Little was vocal in that game as well, and many others before that. That's the kind of leadership you want from your captain.
Talking of leadership, just to say, the Little last week against Donny, right, gave the goal. He had his worst game in the Gillingham shirt, right, against Donny last week, right. The next game, he's vocal and getting people organised and not shying away from anything, and he's showing true leadership. The ball goes in the net. He's not bending down, tying up his laces or pulling up his socks. Not mentioning any names, but do you know what I mean? He looks like he cares completely, and I think that the game last week was partly, he gave the bad goal away, and he just had a mad half hour, didn't he? When he just couldn't. I felt
I think we had the moment with the goal, and after that, he didn't really recover from that, did he? Didn't recover.
No. But just to show his character at Tranmere, though, he was one of the leaders on that pitch. And right, I know people are digging out us letting in that goal, but by 4th Division League 2 standards, that was quite a good cross and goal. It was actually a nice break down the wing with an overlap and a decent cross, and he put it in. We have let in far worse goals this season.
Oh yes,
I don't think we need to over that. If we let in goals like that at this level, I'd go, right, sort of thing. Yeah. Compared with some we've let in. But,
exactly. But the thing is that Tranmere are also a team that's low on confidence. They've been struggling all season, and they produced a move like that. That shows that they've got it in the locker to turn it on when they need to.
Any team can in Foot League 2 can do that for occasionally. They're all professional footballers.
Only if they believe they can do it. And that's something that we don't have. We don't have that belief that we can do moves like that. We start to progress. We get to a certain point, and then we think, we better play it safe, because they don't want to be that player that risks that failure. As you said, Eddie, they don't want to be that clutch player that wants to try something a little bit different. Try a shot from distance, for crying out loud.
But then, Mike, there is also the point there, Mike, where if we can't even do the basics right, why are we going to try and do anything else? Do you know what I mean? I think there was something, Jack Nolan or someone did something, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, if you can't even pass the ball properly, why are you trying shots? Why are you trying to do that? You need to get the fundamental basics right in a football team before you then start doing, shots from distance.
And this is where I have a little bit of not a go at the fans, but I think that people, people are assuming they're not all just don't care. Some of it is confidence, right?
Yeah.
Part of rebuilding the confidence from the floor falls to us now. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Because if we want people to take risks, because a long shot can hit deflection or the goalie fumbles it, whatever, we get a rebound. Yeah. If we want them to take the odd risk, we can't completely dig them out and dogpile them when it doesn't quite work. You can't have it both ways. So if Gillingham fans want us to not be safety first all the bloody time, then they're going to have to expect League 2 players are not perfect. They'll try it, and if they try it 5 times and it comes off twice, we're up on the deal.
The only way it's up, considering that we've
Mike, I just want to say one thing before you go. With the greatest respect intended, Eddie, we're not on $4,000 a week, right? So we go and watch.
No, but it's confidence. You've got to build confidence regardless.
Yeah.
Footballers aren't thinking of how much they're getting paid when they shank the ball straight out, are they? They're not doing it on purpose. it's their job as they're not going to get paid $4,000 very long if they keep doing that, are they?
No.
I mean,
No.
I don't think
there are some
with what they're getting paid with lack of confidence. Look, as I say, I think we all think certain players aren't trying as hard as they could, and bye in May to them.
Yeah.
But
I think
some of the others,
there's massive
confidence thing,
fundamental.
we've got to play a part in rebuilding that confidence.
Yeah,
right? I've seen worse Gillingham teams, and before social media existed, early 90s.
Yeah, Flanagan,
we had a more accident-prone team. Yeah. Gary, people like Butler and Breen would shank it into their own bloody net from 30 yards, right? Now they'd go viral. They would be viral every bloody week.
Yeah,
in 92,
you're right.
Right, but because unless you were one of the 2,500, 3,400 in that ground, no one knew you'd done it.
No.
So
days before social media. Yeah, absolutely.
It was bad times. But there are fundamental issues at the moment. Like I say, Eddie's right. I think we at the moment, perhaps the fans have got to play more of a pass at the moment, trying to sort of lift the spirit and the mood on the pitch and off the pitch. Because I think at the moment we are. I sort of almost put it down. The club at the moment. I mean, we're almost like the boiling frog in the cold water. I mean, we're 9-10 points off the relegation zone. If it carries on the way we're going, we could potentially get sucked into this if we're really not careful.
I think we're very sort of dangerously close to flirting with that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to the point about how getting behind the players to try something new. The thing is, when you look at the stats that we've got, there's only one way that they can go. I mean, look at these stats, like one shot on target. If we see players are trying and they're trying something new, we'll get behind them 100%. That's what we want. The thing that we don't want is that we get to a certain point, then panic a little bit, and then go back to safety, and then
what we do,
which we can't win. Particularly with players the size of Morgan and Nevitt up front, they're not going to win those hoof balls. They're not going to win.
No, they're not. We've got to play it a little bit better than that. It's worrying.
We've got to mix up. Yeah, play it safe when you need to play it safe. But, the thing is, like when you mix things up, you'll get more shots on target, and more shots on target by law of averages gives you a better chance of getting something. Like a spill of the ball, or a keeper has an absolute mare, or something like that. We're just not registering loads of shots on target. No. So
I think the thing's really just over 2 weeks into the Coleman reign, and I saw the second half. I thought it was a lot more effort. Second half, we looked a little bit more positive. I thought, and hopefully that will carry on tomorrow night. If we sort of carry on that vein of form, and hopefully start building something. That's what we need. We've got to start building something.
Yeah, dreams are free.
I think it's this confidence. Eddie's right. The fans have got to try and play their part, because I think potentially.
I'm going to show my age now, right? Okay, 92, 93. We were bottom of the league, right? Bottom of the league. And we were on our knees. It was a 4-way struggle with us, Torquay, Halifax, over.
That's it.
And we were fighting for our future of our entire club.
Yes.
And so each match, look, we were awful, right? Quite often. And we would let in family last-minute goals. And the defending, if you think some of our defending now is bad, your head would explode if you saw some of what happened then, right? But
it's horrendous.
Every game, the fans sort of hit a reset button. And until you have a 3-0 down, you back them. Because you knew that the club's whole future was at stake, right? And so even you knew, all right, you got the feeling that most of the players were putting in full effort, which is slightly different from a couple of maybe now. But the fans played that part. They roared the team towards safety. And even say we would go 2-0 down, they'd roar them on if they even had a good shot or something, because they felt that, no one else is going to do this for us. And people roared them on. And I just feel like we've lost a little bit of that. It was almost a defiance in the face of this is a disaster. We've got to try and get out of it, right? And so we would I mean, with the number of last-minute equalisers we let in away from home that season, and last-minute penalties and own goals and everything else, it was just comedy gold. If you did a documentary on that season, it would have gone viral around the world. But the fans stuck with the players, right? They stuck with it, and they reset every game. So say you do lose 3-0 somewhere, the next game, we're totally up for it again. So we lost 3-0 at Colchester on a Friday night. We thought we were going to lose our league status. Next game, last home game of the season is Halifax. 7,500 in the ground when our normal average is 3,000. And it was like a cup final. And would that happen now? I hope it would. But I just feel like some people feel like, well, we've been rubbish all season, so I'm not going to cheer them on. Well, in one sense, when you're in the SH1T, you've got to.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Settlement, I think since we've had this, since we've had the takeover, there have been a lot of people that have just been a little bit sort of taking a bit of an entitled view that we should be like,
entitled. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely, running through this league, like hot knife through butter kind of thing. Nobody's entitled to win this league. Nobody's entitled to go up from this league. You've got to fight to get up from that. Bradford City are finding that out the hard way, and they've got some of the most entitled fans I've ever come across. So with that in mind,
I think everyone saw the Wrexham thing when Wrexham got taken over, done what they did, and I thought, oh, we've been taken over. Yeah, we're going to do the same thing, and it hasn't happened, has it?
Of course, like we're not the same thing, and everything like that. We are our own story, but I think admittedly, I do sometimes when I expect better. I'm thinking, well, if we compare it to the past and things like that, am I being reasonable in my expectations? And sometimes I do have to check those a little bit. We are Gillingham at the end of the day, but we're a club that works hard. The players work hard on the pitch. Historically, that's how it's always been. People go with the play for the badge on the front, and everyone will remember the name on the back, even though we didn't always have names on the back, but whatever. So with that in mind, it's that's the thing that we seem to be lacking. Like, because we're not seeing it on the pitch, like some of the work ethic that some of the great teams that we've had in the past. Or even like some of the poorer quality teams that we've had, but we've had hard workers in there that have made sure that we've become a club. That people don't want to come and play us because they know they have a game on their hand. People aren't fearing us. That's the problem. They're coming to Priestfield and they're thinking, you know what, these boys will just crumble like a Rice Krispie under a bison. So,
and this is the problem. A lot of the other teams now come. No, as soon as they go 1-0 up here, the crowd turns, the pressure starts, everything starts almost falling apart. And I think that is a lot of the problem as well. It becomes psychological.
Well, exactly. The problem is that we're in a losing environment. The players are in a losing environment, and it's infectious, and it's hard because some of these. Other players, players that we've signed in the summer, have come into the club kind of thing, and they're around some of these other players that they're a bit like competition winners. They're just glad to be there, kind of thing. Where the effort just isn't quite there for me. Again, I'm not going to name any names, which I've named them many times before.
Yeah, we all know who. Yeah,
we all know who. Yeah, exactly. And when it's that obvious, and when you have that culture, that losing environment where the team doesn't fear losing. That's the problem for me. I think they're just kind of like, oh well, we'll try again next week, kind of thing, or try again next game. I don't want to see that. I want to see like the fight. That if you lose a game, we don't mind that you lose a game, but we expect effort. We expect try.
I've said that before. Yeah, at least try. At least try. Even if you lose, just try.
If you go out on your shield, then everybody will think, okay. You did your best because no one wins every game. But
when you're seeing a massive lack of effort out of certain players, we saw last weekend when Doncaster were in our box and a certain person was walking back into the box.
Yeah.
We all know who that was, and that just disgusts me. And I think at least put a bit of effort in, run, just try. At least try. You're playing crap, whatever, but at least try.
Yeah, so we're going to move on, gents. I'm sorry to break this conversation down, but we can't be on here all night. So I'm going to ask.
Why not?
I'm going to ask all three of you quickly. So, Eddie, do you think it's confidence, mentality, or ability?
I think the biggest problem at the moment is confidence for most of the players. I think we've got a reasonable amount of ability for this division, and then I think the attitude stinks from a small number of players, and it's not helped the rest of them.
Yeah. So, and Ian, yourself, confidence, mentality,
Yes, so
or ability?
definitely, I'd say 80% of it is confidence at the moment. We've got all the ability in the world. You've only got to look at some of the technical players we've got. We've got some really, really good players which aren't playing as a team. There's no doubt in the ability, I don't think at all. And I think, like you said, it's the attitude, I think, of a small minority of these players, which is obviously, there are certain players who just aren't trying. Definitely aren't trying. But I think a lot of it is down to confidence.
Right. Mike?
Confidence for the most part, but I think what also doesn't help is that you've got players that are not playing in their natural positions. I don't think Nolan, if you want him to get his confidence back, playing him at left wing back is not going to be the way that you're going to get that confidence back. It's I think there's a bit of shoehorning going on there. In terms of ability, in small cases, but not too many cases, because we've seen what some of these players have done at other clubs. Mentality that is the problem. That if you're not fearing losing, and you think, well, there's not much consequence, then it breeds a culture that you really want to escape from. But yeah, I think the majority of it is probably confidence.
But then I suppose to touch on it, you could tie in confidence with mentality as well.
Yes, yeah, of course it is.
Anyway, we will move on from the game because we do have David Garth is going to give us his thoughts on the game for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, I have to say yesterday was a big disappointment.
Obviously,
took me quite a while to really almost calm down after the game, because I felt there were 2 or 3 players in that team that just didn't try. One particular situation obviously was their goal, which I think the cross should certainly have been cut out and wasn't. And we just didn't really seem to create very much at all, particularly in the second half. I guess we did at least keep a clean sheet in the second half, and when you sort of analyse it, we're not conceding too many goals. It's just the fact that we're not creating very much at all at the other end. So anything that we do concede is actually hurting us. As far as the new players were concerned, Kambani just didn't really have much of an impact. Morgan, I felt, was very, very lively. He does take up some really good positions, and hence I think that's why the own goal was conceded, because had the player not got the ball, then Morgan, I think, would have been on the end of it and put that away. But there's still several players out there that are not really putting in the effort that I feel that they should be. Biggest loss, of course, was the fact that Asher didn't start the game. An injury, I believe it's just a precaution. Yeah, I guess if you look at it glass half full, at least we've stopped the rot and we've got a point. So that's something to build on. But we've got to follow it up really quickly now with a win at some stage. And I just feel it needs to be Tuesday that we can finally get something going, and we can finally get ourselves 3 points on the board, because if we don't do it soon, we are going to get sucked into something that we don't want to talk about, do we? The R word. So there you go. Please let's get out there and do something on Tuesday.
There you go. So that was David's thoughts this week, in the absence of Phil's thoughts, because he wasn't at the game. Neither was David. But we will move on to the hardest part of the show then, lads. Who was the best of a bad bunch? So Eddie's gone for Bradley Dack, Ian's gone for Bradley Dack, Mike's gone for Marley Little, and I've gone for Max Amer. We will start with you, Eddie, and your thoughts as to why.
I mean, I'd say nobody really shone in the first half, to be honest. So this is more, I mean, obviously Dak created the goal just on half time. But the second half, I don't know, he just kept popping up in good spaces and trying decent passes, and I mean, he looked well up for it, and some of the things came off, and it just looked. I mean, he lasted the whole game as well, which is a bonus. But he just looked like, oh, well, that's decent building blocks. If we can build on that next few games, he might have more of an impact. So, so he edged it ahead of the young lads up front. For me.
Yeah, Ian.
That's what I thought with Dak's performance. It was the fact it was his effort, his all-round effort. He actually really up for it. Again, the first 20, 25 minutes was a non-event, but he came into the game in the second half, and he, like you said, he was always there. He was always showing for the ball. He sort of wanted the ball. You could tell that. Obviously, he had the hand in the goal, but it was the big bonus was him getting through 90 minutes with no injury, didn't come off or anything, and that was good to see. And I think hopefully he's behind all that now. He could be pivotal for the running. He could be really pivotal for the next 2 or 3 months. Just hope he stays fit, because I thought he was fantastic Saturday. Really was good.
Kind of plays into what Mark Bonner was saying, wasn't it, about him coming back and being fit for the second half of the season. But anyway, what does Mark Bonner know? Anyway, Mike.
Let's get one thing straight. When Bradley Dack was brought back, I bet they didn't think that they'd get more minutes out of him than they did Josh Andrews. So I'm made up for him that he sort of lasted the whole 90. He played well and everything like that. I mean, the reason for my choice of Armani Little is because after that horror show, with the back pass, it's all too easy to let your game completely go for 1-2 whatever games kind of thing. It hasn't phased him. He put himself about. He was that on the field leader that we needed. He was putting in those challenges, putting body on line. That for me are all the qualities that I really wanted from a team that can be accused of not trying hard enough sometimes. He always tries. Yes, he won't always have a fantastic game, but he'll always give it absolutely everything he's got. And the last thing we want to say about Armani Little when he comes to the end of his time at Gillingham is he was a great player, just a shame about everybody else that was around him. We don't want to be saying that, do we?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
No. Yeah, so as I say, best of a bad bunch. I went for Max. I was going to change my mind earlier to Morgan after watching it back for the third time. Sacrilege. But no, I went
back. You stayed on the ground floor and didn't watch out the window.
I'm very easy to criticise players, and Max more so than most. But also have to give him credit when he does well. He didn't do great for the goal, but he was probably one of our better players on the day. It's a low bar, extremely low bar.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with Coleman's comments at the end saying he was astounding. I think that maybe he was watching a different game or his age is getting to him.
Maybe he's just trying to build confidence for him.
That's confidence building.
And as I say, I'm very quick to criticise players, and I always have been. But the flip side of that is you have to praise when necessary, right? So yeah, that's why Max is it for me. So we will quickly look ahead to tomorrow night, and we will look at our form.
Oh God, Jesus Christ!
It doesn't look great on paper.
That's enough for me.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, that is grim. That is absolutely grim.
How are we still laughing? How are we still laughing?
Grimsby have won,
honestly,
lost, and we've lost last.
No.
So I will start with you, Mike, on this one. And what do you think about our 7:45 kickoff against Grimsby at Blundell Park tomorrow night?
My expectations are relatively low. I think Grimsby, they can be a bit of a bogey team sometimes. Eddie's just sort of his eyes just went wide there.
I was just looking at that.
So they can be a bit of a bogey team, and if we can get our act together, if we can get Morgan on the field, Akbanoni, if he gets back on the field, we might be able to expose a little bit with pace. but we need to just break this habit of safety first and everything like that. It's an away game. We got to go for it. They're the ones that will be under pressure to win at home, and we need to put them under that pressure. But if I wouldn't even want to hazard a score line. Whoever's, I'll tell you what, if we get a goal, they're nailed on for goal of the month. That's all we do.
Eddie, I'll go with you, mate. And your thoughts on Grimsby tomorrow night?
Well, I've been there on a Tuesday night a few times, and it always seems to be 2-0 to Grimsby. So we've got one win there in 20 years in our entire history.
Jesus Christ!
I've been there 9 times. I did see a win and 3 draws and 5 defeats, but we hardly ever score there.
Well, that's why, Eddie, I hope you're not going on Tuesday, mate, because you seem to be the bad omen.
Yes, no, I am going. We're staying the night in Cleethorpes. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Why wouldn't you? No, actually, we're staying in Grimsby, actually, in the Wetherspoons Extra Station, because it's less terrible than the one in Cleethorpes.
Less terrible.
It's a low bar. But anyway, no, it's a really grim away experience normally. Terrible view, stuck in the corner. Loads of posts in the way. Local fans are usually pretty territorial and not very cuddly. And we have a shocking record there. It's bottom of my list of all away games for this season. So anything better than the apocalypse will do me, really.
See the 4 horsemen, right?
It is horrendous.
Ian?
Again, I've been to Blundell Park twice, seen us lose twice. Again, a very low bar tomorrow night. Anything, if we sit back tomorrow night, we'll probably, like I said, get picked off again. I'm hoping that if Agbenoni's fit, that we've got to go for it tomorrow night and try and put a bit of pressure on, take a few risks. We've got to break this. We've got to break this cycle. We really have got to break this cycle, because if not, we are seriously going to be in trouble soon if we can't.
On a serious note, I will say a serious reply too. That we played them when we were top on a Tuesday night earlier in the season, and they beat us 1-0, and they were quite impressive that day.
Yeah.
And everyone walked away going, "Oh, we weren't expecting that." That was the start of things starting to unravel. And their fans were noisy, and I thought they were quite impressive that day. So. Also, we haven't scored more than 1 goal away from home in any competition since March at Morecambe when we won 3-2. So it's now 10 months since we scored more than once in any competition away from home. So you can imagine.
It's a very sad picture here, Eddie. It's
very bleak, isn't it?
You're not going for the confidence in itself, are you, Eddie?
I'm just saying, don't expect a 4-3 win.
No.
No. Well, could you imagine if we actually scored 3 goals? I think we'd pass out.
Yeah.
I think it was quite funny earlier on in the season when we lost them at home. David Artett, we gave him a little bit of pelters from the Medway, and he turned around and he go, "Oh, I don't ever go at you when you're doing your job, but do I?" And he's right, but when you're losing, when you're losing, you kind of sometimes do give them. But yes, boys. So I'm gonna say, and I said to Jonathan earlier, my friend Jonathan, that started to speak to. I'm going for a scrappy 1-0 will do me. That'll do nicely.
I'll take that.
So So with that, we will just quickly move on. Obviously, we are in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. If you haven't already joined, then please do. The QR code's there, or the website is gfcsc.co.uk. And that's that. So if you haven't, why not? Join the View from the Medway. I think all 3 of you are part of the Facebook group now, aren't you? So
yes,
you witnessed my meltdown on Saturday night.
Is that, yeah.
Talk about shitting yourself in public.
It was emotional.
Dropping a bollock comes to mind. So if you haven't, then the Facebook at the View from the Medway, X at TVF10 or the View from the Medway Fancast, and YouTube, the View from the Medway Fancast. We also have a WhatsApp number if you want to send us in like video thoughts or your own personal thoughts on the game to get involved there as well. I'm going to let Amu play us out again tonight because I actually quite like this song. So, I've been Kris, he's been Eddie, he's been Ian, he's been Mike. Good night and up the Jills.
Gather round your people, gather round your town. When things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows. Find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days. But all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy